Full speed, full frontals are things you want to avoid. This is a video breaking down a huge collapse from YouTube to help you understand how exactly to keep your glider open when you're flying as fast as it goes. Ready? Here we go.
See ya.
What's up, everybody? This is Ari in the Air. Welcome back to the channel. Stoked you're here. If you're new here, welcome. I'm a paraglide pilot who makes videos on YouTube to help you have better outcomes in your flying life. And I also have founded the Paragliding Men's Group as a way to help you have better outcomes in your familial, relational, and personal life. A bunch of amazing pilots have gone through this course in the last 12 months, and there is another cohort coming up. We'd love to have you apply. Use the link in the description below. So let's get to this video here. I'm going to play it for you one time, and then we are going to break it down as always. This was sent in by a subscriber. His name is Jakob. Thanks for sending it, Jacob. He's flying an Arctic R. I think this is in Switzerland. It's a just killer day. Look at this. Oh, I love flying in comps. Just finished the US Open. Had a blast flying with my friends. Okay, so now he's flying with the hands off. He's dealing with his phone, with his mitt. He's trying to lick it. Oh, hands off. Is he going to take a whack? Hands off. Oh, No, he doesn't. No, he gets onto the rears. He pushes full speed. Okay, he's going full speed. He's under Cloud Street. Full speed here. A little pitch. 80% collapse, big shoot, frontal, line twist, frontal, untwisted, and he's flying away. Okay, so doesn't last long, and he did a good job handling it. So let's go back, and I'm going to help you understand why this happened and what you can do about it in the future. I want to start by saying he's flying an Arctic R, which if you've been watching this series on collapses, you probably have noticed that the most common glider that you see on this is the Arctic R. And that's not because of the Arctic R. It's also that we're seeing a lot of photon collapses. We're seeing a lot of mint collapses. We're seeing a lot of ENC two-liner collapse videos. Why is that? Is it because all of these ENC two-liners are dangerous gliders? No, it's not. It's because the level of pilot that is choosing this glider is enthusiastic and up and coming and relatively to two-liners and their cross-country careers that they're going to have, inexperienced. So I don't actually know what this guy's experience is, and I'm not trying to shame anyone. I'm just prefacing my advice here because what I would advise people to do when they step up to an ENC two-liner or any two-liner is actually use a progression of how fast you will let the glider fly. As you can see in this clip here, you see that his pulleys are touching. He is pushing full speed, and he actually has some rear riser pressure. Anytime that the rear risers are being spread away from the A risers, that is pulling pressure on the rear risers. Even if you're not pulling down on the risers, just separating them triangulates them and makes the rear riser shorter, and so you are actually slowing the glider down. When we race Enzos, if I'm trying to fly full speed, I am pushing the pulleys, I'm pushing the bar until the limiter strap is tight, and then I'm actually pushing the rear risers up to make sure that I'm not pulling back or pulling down on the risers at all. That is full speed. So having said that, in this case, if you're flying full speed and you're under the clouds, you probably know that you're in bumpy air, right? The clouds are directly above his glider here. And so I would push full speed on the bar, but I would probably pull down on the rears ever so slightly. Just keep pressure and just know that I'm in air that might punch me in the face. So like a boxer, you're going to like guard here, right? You're getting ready for punches. And this is a progression. So if you imagine, the PWC, everyone's racing on the same glider, the same harness, the same weight, yet there are people who are faster. And is that because their glider is faster? No. It's because they are making better flight decisions and they're also checking the glider less. Like on the same glide, if I was next to Honorin, he would literally pull down on the rears less than I would. I'm trying to keep the glider open, and so So I'm pulling on the rears and I'm touching the glider, and that slows me down. And the spectrum that I'm trying to paint for you is that on one end of the spectrum, you're on your first flight on your first two-liner, and on the other, you are a world champion. When you are starting this progression on two-liners, you want to fly your glider slower, meaning that you're going to pull on the rear risers more than the world champion. And as you get more and more comfortable flying full speed, getting used to the gliders, knowing what feedback that it gives you and knowing how to physically respond to that feedback, you can pull less and less and less rear riser until you're flying the glider as fast as it can possibly go in as many scenarios as possible, right? So it's a progression from starting to fly these things to flying them really fast, full speed, without pulling down on the rears. So you always know that you're out over your skis if you're taking frontals, if you're taking big collapses. Okay. If you want to fly fast, you got to fly with the glider open. Anytime that you take a collapse, it typically means that there was some input that you missed. There was some sign that you missed. Okay. Because I fly with a lot of really good pilots in really strong conditions in competition. And there's a lot of people who can just keep the damn thing open relentlessly. Okay. I'm pretty good at that too. So let's watch again here. Full speed. Small pitch. He pulls. Let me see if I can go here in just like super slow-mo. Okay, let's see if we can go frame by frame. Okay, so basically watching his left hand, the glider pitches forward a little. He puts some pressure on the left rear riser, you see? He pulls it down. You see it's pulled. But then he relents and the glider tucks. Okay, so obviously what needed to happen here was a lot more left rear riser input. Okay, also the glider collapses here. We don't have a perfect view, but look at his speed bar is still activated. Speed bar is still activated. Speed bar is still there. He's off the bar. Good job. Definitely want to come off the bar immediately. Okay. This is an 80% collapse, which is worse than 100 because that open wingtip makes the reopening more violent. It also can induce a heading change. This is what happens. The right glider shoots and it starts to open the entirety of the glider, which makes it shoot really hard, right? The glider is diving still at this point, and it's going to send him into a line twist. What you see here on the right side of the glider is that it induces even another frontal. This is obviously the leading edge is pointing towards us now. We're looking into the cells. So the right side of the glider is frontaling once again. His feet are above his head. This is not a comfortable position for any pilot. Look at this frame. Oh my God. This is crazy. So you do not want to be upside down with air blowing into your pod with your lines twisted while your glider is recovering, but it does catch him, and as it snaps forward, it shoots once again, which makes it do a small frontal. You see this frame here, it's a small frontal, and then he does a good job of just staying calm, letting the glider reinflate and fly away, and now he basically just stays calm while he untwists. Okay. So this is a good example of an ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure. It is much faster. You know, he's in a competition here. It's much faster to fly slightly slower with more pressure on the rears so that you can keep the glider open than flying super fast, taking a frontal, turning around, all this hoopla, right? So there's this progression of flying on the rears. Just in the US Open, I had a friend who had just stepped to his first two-liner, a Nova Codex. The first day he was flying on it was a really full power, perfect paragliding day, lots of clouds, full speed racing. So everyone is basically climbing and then flying full speed. He took a number of full speed frontals, and I told him the same exact advice. Brother, as you learn, there's going to be a progression of how fast you can fly this glider and keep it open. So as you fly, if you're on full speed, I recommend, especially on these two-liners where you have rear riser toggles, grabbing those toggles, and then you can just pull them away from the A riser. And this gives you just some more pressure so that you can just feel more feedback. But in general, as you begin pulling back on them and slightly down so that it's really pushing up into the top of your finger, into the bottom of your fingers, so that you really have a good sense of what the pressure on the rear riser is, because those are going to be the inputs. That's going to be the feedback that tells you what inputs to make. As you survive and thrive more and more of your paragliding career, you will be able to fly more hands up at full speed. Okay. So super appreciate Jakob for sending this in. Also, there's another cohort of the Paragliding Men's Group launching soon. So if you've been curious about that, check out the link in the description. Would love for you to apply. It's application only, and I talked to the applicants directly. Would be stoked to see you on that list. So thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next episode.